Welcome to Four Calling Birds, honest conversations that give us all a voice.
Four calling birds.
This week's Four Calling Birds is all about random acts of kindness. And we have asked some of our listeners to send in some examples that they may have experienced of random acts of kindness. And we've had quite a lot of different examples, and we're going to be listening to a few of those in a minute. One of your friends, Natalie, sent in a random act of kindness about suspended coffee.
Yes, yeah. So for anyone that
Can I
doesn't
just
know
say
what
as well, Natalie, your friends have been brilliant. I would like to say kudos to your friends, shame on mine and Stephen's.
Not mine.
Yeah.
Shout out to everyone. Oh, bless. So a suspended coffee. I couldn't think of the name of it earlier, but my friend Rachel has reminded me. It's called a suspended coffee. It's what you do is when you go to a coffee shop and you want to buy a coffee for the next person that comes in, or for a homeless person, which is the main cause for it. Pay it forward, yeah. So you go in, you buy a coffee, and then anyone who can't afford a coffee or just wants a hot drink or needs something warm, then they can go in, take a post-it note off the wall, take it to the counter, and get their free coffee. So I remember an instance, not when I've paid. I have done it before, but I was in a coffee shop that does this, and I think I bought one at the time, but the guy behind the counter gave me one of those. You know those what they called loyalty cards. He gave me a loyalty card, and he stamped like 4 stamps on it.
Oh, that's nice.
So that's my little random.
You've just got
act of
someone
kindness.
sacked.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I would probably think it was some kind of ordering system and make a fool of myself and go, I'd like a coffee, please. Like the time I thought the food bank was the reduced trolley.
You didn't.
Yeah, I did.
Of course you did.
Mortifying.
Oh no.
But I think that's lovely. And I hope people don't abuse it. And I don't think they do they?
I was going to say maybe we could hear the soundbite from Rachel, who talks about coffees or paying it forward.
A very small gesture, but I think a lovely act of kindness is when people buy a coffee in advance for another customer. I've never actually received one myself, but I think it's a great idea, and what an easy way to brighten up someone's day.
Gorgeous, and that's from Rachel in Edinburgh.
You've got a similar story, Stephen, at Christmas about a turkey, haven't you?
Well, I was just going to jump in with this one because it was sort of similar. So this story we heard this story when Meredith and I were doing a radio show together back at Christmas last year. There's a lovely little butcher shop in the courtyard behind my flat, and I had ordered a turkey there, turkey crown, last Christmas, and I had gone to collect it, and it was absolutely bucketing it down with rain. And because of COVID restrictions, we had to queue outside.
It was biblical rain. It was biblical.
Oh God, it was apocalyptic. I mean, I know I'm gay, but I really wasn't overreacting when I say it was. I was soaked through to the skin. I was wet in the wrong way. Anyway, so I'm stood outside waiting, and we were all we were queuing for these turkey because we had to queue and wait, whatever. And everybody of every age, colour, and creed was waiting outside. But about 3 or 4 people in front was this very sweet lady. She was very elderly. I would say even late 80s, possibly even early 90s. She was very frail. She had a little plastic hood on and a rather pathetic umbrella, and was adhering to the rules. She queued like everybody else, and I'm not saying everybody was wrong for not letting her go in front, but a lady, sort of about 4 or 5 people in front of her, said, "I can't believe nobody here is sort of saying, look, she's obviously at risk if she gets a cold or flu or something, if she stood outside for too long." And she said, she beckoned this lady when it was her turn and said, "Right, we're switching places." And then she bought her turkey for her as well.
Oh, that's so sweet.
And I
So
told
lovely.
Meredith this. I threw this into the chat when Meredith and I were doing the radio show. I didn't tell Meredith I was going to tell her this story, and she burst into tears.
You
on
had
the
Oh my
video.
God.
You had me at plastic headscarf, I'm afraid.
Oh, I've got such an
love
image
those
in my
things.
head.
Yeah.
That is
It
so
was a really
sweet.
lovely-
I can't bear
Yeah.
to see. In fact, I find elderly people on their own heartbreaking. Loneliness is the thing that completely destroys me, be it an animal or a human. I tend to have more empathy for animals, but But I remember I always used to go and sit, if they're probably quite annoying now in hindsight, but when I was a child, I'd always go and sit with, if there was an old person in a restaurant, or I'd always go and sit with them and join them. And I was in Bournemouth once, and I was about 20 at the time, and there's a little old man sat having his cup of tea and his bacon sandwich in a beachside cafe in Bournemouth, and I thought, I'll go and sit with him and keep him company. And it was Buster Merrifield. He didn't want me to keep him company.
During the war.
No, he was lovely. But it was like, he's come for peace and quiet. He does not want me.
I used to do that when I was little in doctor's surgeries. I used to go and sit next to somebody who was on their own and hold their hands and ask them what was wrong.
Oh, my God. Oh, my God. Oh,
It's herpes, love. You might want to get your hand out.
Anyway, producer Jeremy is going to play another soundbite for us.
Here's one that I just kind of, because it's happening now, I'm on a film shoot at the moment, and people are doing random acts of kindness all the time to keep like the morale up and to keep a positive mindset and energy on set. And it's like, for instance, yesterday we were shooting and my costume is quite thin, and so I was kind of sat there being a bit cold, and then the costume lady comes in with a hot water bottle for me without me asking. And I was like, that's so kind that she just knew that I was going to be cold, and therefore she came with a hot water bottle. And I was like, that is nice. People do care about each other. And yeah, everyone's looking out for each other. That's one.
Oh, Nina.
Oh, that's the extra mile, isn't it? That's
Yeah.
really the extra mile.
Paying
as well.
attention.
But also, I think that, when you're working with people, I think that, that should automatically come as second nature. You should look out for each other, shouldn't you? I mean, May I'm being idealistic and naive, but especially if you're on a set. I know from working on sets myself, photo shoots, not film sets, but yeah, if somebody's dressed in something thin and flimsy, then you give them a blanket or a coat or a hot water bottle. You make sure everyone's okay.
But
And,
what's so lovely is gratitude is the key to happiness as well. We are responsible for it. And I think the fact that Nina was grateful and
yes, it was
identified
unexpected.
that-
Yeah.
Yes. So we can all work together, and actually probably people don't realise people are doing kind things all the time. It's just it's what our expectations are. And I think, not saying we should all lower our expectations, but actually...
Don't expect anything, but be grateful for whatever comes your way.
Absolutely. And the more gratitude you have, we were talking about this earlier. We were talking about toxic positivity, and some people were saying it's a really negative thing to say, oh, well, you're better off than some. But actually, reword that. It's not. It's just about finding things to be grateful for that can help you put it all into perspective. And I think Nina's done that. But there are other people, like Madonna wouldn't see that as a random act of kindness. She'd see that as, well, that's what people should do for me. I'm assuming.
I'm going to name drop here. I'm going to name drop here. You ready? So day one filming Great British Bake Off. We're the first season with Prue, Noel and Sandy. So nobody knows one another. Paul's very distant because he's a bit new to the whole setup. And it was actually really cold. We were filming in early April 2017. It was a freezing cold morning. It was 5 a.m. and it was about a degree above freezing. And nobody had planned for this apart from me. I had this amazing, I love my coat. It's like a goose down jacket. And it's huge, absolutely massive on me. And I could see Sandy Toxvig really wanted to be professional, didn't want to say anything. But I could see she was frozen to the bone. She could barely move. I just took my jacket off and I wrapped it around her. And she looked at me as if to say, thank you so much. And she sort of squeezed my hand. Her tiny little hand squeezed mine. And she just looked at me as if to say, nobody had thought about this, and you're the only person that's actually approached me. She didn't even ask. And from then on, she kept stealing my jacket, which was a bit annoying. But I just couldn't bear to think that, the poor woman was absolutely frozen to the bone. She was shaking. And and
so
also you have to
lovely.
remember that, people... Nina is on a film set. People are going to think she's important, but she's, it's being kind to
Human
people.
beings.
Yeah,
Can I
she's
say
human being to
something
human being.
I want to keep this really positive, but I do think there's a degree of human nature that if someone does something sort of like that, just sort of, oh, I'm going to do something, it can actually make other people feel a bit insecure and slightly like, oh, arse licker. Or we had a random act of kindness from a stylist come in, Dawn Marriott, and I'm sure we'll be playing that later. But she was saying how she saw a woman who looked really lovely in the street, just looked beautifully dressed and immaculately styled, and she just went up and told her that. And this woman was so overwhelmed, and it was just such a lovely thing to do. And we should do that more as women. We really should. But I've done it a couple of times here in Tring, and I've had people look at me as like, what do you want? Like, what are you, weirdo? Like, so
Well,
you
actually,
have
That's their issue, though, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
Totally. I was going to say this. I think it's important to accept an act of kindness, because I've I've had people offer me help when I'm in a tube station with a big suitcase, and I think it's important to say, yeah, please, even if you don't need help. I always try to say, yeah, thank you, that's really kind of you.
Don't be
and
suspicious.
Let them help you. Don't be suspicious.
Until they're running away with your suitcase, then you're suspicious.
Yeah.
But it should always be about
but that makes
giving
them
without
feel
agenda.
good as well, doesn't it? It
Yeah,
makes them
absolutely.
feel like they've helped
exactly.
someone, so,
And you should never do something with an agenda. You should it should be a completely it should completely come from the heart without thinking you're going to get anything back, because at the
Yes.
spur of the moment.
I do want to talk about this actually, because I recently got a job from my agent that was very well paid, without saying too much. And I told my agent I'd send them something as a thank you, and they said, "Oh, that's great. Bypass the flowers and just bring the wine." And so I sort of thought, I asked my family, how much is too much to spend on 2 bottles of champagne for 2 different agents going to 2 different places? And I think it was my dad that said something like, "Oh, don't do it. It's not worth it." But then actually he said, "No, to be fair, in the past I have sent something as almost a little bribe to get something in return." And
Yeah,
I
but
know
it's
it's
not a
bad to
bribe.
say that. It's bad. It is bad to say that, but it is. Be kind to people, and kindness comes back to you. So it's just I don't know. What do we think about that?
Well, I have a theory, and I call it the currency of cake. And it's joking aside. Actually, no. The ability to gift cake in some form actually has benefited me.
Like to your dentist, for example,
Exactly,
Stephen.
to my dentist for giving Invisalign. Thank you, Battersea Park Dental. Yes, of course, it doesn't apply to everybody, but gifting is so, especially if it's personal, and especially if it's meant well, is such the feeling it can give people. And the feeling I get, I have a friend in Canada who every now and then sends me a letter, and we'll just put a little postcard in there. He says, I saw this in a shop and I thought you'd like it.
Oh, I love
It costs them
like
$1.
that.
Do you know what I mean? So it's not.
It's the thought.
This isn't about champagne.
Yeah.
I'm joking aside, Natalie, but it's not. It's about it's genuinely about the token of thanks. Sometimes goes a long way.
Yeah,
I
but
do the
it's-
same thing with my agent. I just send her a little thanks every now and then.
And it's not
does.
because it's not because I'm wanting to bribe them, but it's a gesture of thanks, and in return that works for me, I guess, because they're going to want to push a little bit harder for me, but I don't think that's a bad thing necessarily, unless it is really manipulative or
A bribe.
A bribe, yeah.
Okay, Jeremy, can you play another soundbite for us?
Morning, Hayley. So when I was 16, we were driving back from Greece, and I had to have an emergency appendix operation in a small town called Vidin on the Bulgarian-Romanian border. I was in hospital for 10 days, and the doctor's brother's parents put up my mum and dad and my sister free of charge in their flat, which was at the top of a high-rise block of flats. They fed them, looked after them for the entire duration of our stay. On the last night that we were there, when I'd finally been released from hospital, a friend of theirs had heard we were there and heard of the ordeal that we had been through, and invited us round for dinner and shared what food they had. He'd been out fishing for us. My dad negotiated with the insurance company and managed to get them to pay an amount of cash, which was more money than these families would have ever seen, as opposed to paying for us to stay in a hotel. When we gave it to them, they refused to take it, first of all, and this was life-changing money, more money than they would have ever seen in their time, but they expressed that this was not why they'd done it. They did it as an act of kindness to try and support us and help us in a very, very difficult time. As we left and left the town, we drove around the block and then we wrote a note explaining it wasn't our money, and we posted the money back through their letterbox. They saved that money until their daughter, who at the time was only about 6 years old, but they saved it until she was 18 and paid for her to come over to the UK to do an English teaching course. We're still in touch with the family now. We got a lovely wedding gift from them 17, 18 years ago. Still exchange Christmas cards as a family every year, but such an act of kindness that they did to support us at a very difficult time.
That's just beautiful.
That's an amazing story, isn't it?
I've
That
got
is
goosebumps.
true, selfless, kind act.
Who's that from, Hayley?
That's from my friend Andy. He was actually in the first episode.
head teacher.
Yeah, that's it.
That's beautiful.
Percival.
Andy Percival, yeah. And what I didn't realise about that story was Andy was so incredibly ill that his parents were told that he might not make it. So they must have been so worried. And this amazing family just helped them and supported them through it all. I mean, how lovely is that? I've got a similar story, actually. Not me, but my grandmother, years and years ago, there were two Swedish teenage boys that walked past her house, and I think one of them was really ill. I don't know whether he had tonsillitis or something. Anyway, she took them both in, and they stayed with her for a couple of days. And I think the doctor came and they got him antibiotics and nursed him back to health. And then they went off on their merry way. And yeah, isn't that lovely when people just open their doors to people that when you really need it the most?
Stepping in a crisis. My mum tells me stories. We used to live in Highgate in quite a well-known block of flats called Northwood Hall, and it's on the Archway Bridge, which unfortunately is also known as the Suicide Bridge. And from our flat, my mum could often see people acting oddly or weirdly, distressed or looking like they were about to jump. And there were a couple of occasions where she did speak to people and help them. And there's one particular story where she was driving, I think, and they'd borrowed and this sounds really pretentious, but it's not, because my dad was really into cars. But they were driving my uncle's, I think it was a gold Rolls Royce with white leather interior. And they were just driving it around, sort of, a jolly day out. And they saw a young woman standing on the bridge about to jump. And they pulled up, didn't even do anything, and sort of spoke to her. And she was very resilient and was adamant that she was going to do it. And she was, no one could change her mind. And they stepped in, and there was a scuffle. And she absolutely shredded my mum's arms and all sorts. And they got her in the car, and they got her to, I believe, the Whittington, which is just up the road. But I mean, the white leather seats of this car
were ruined.
Just absolutely, ruined. So an act of kindness. But I think in the end of the eventuality was a human being was saved, and who gives a shit about seats? But things like that as well. It's just being there, stepping in a crisis. I've had friends, God, Hayley, you're one of them, that when I've had a meltdown or a panic attack, I've been able to call you. And it's just, but kindness is not always giving something. It's being there.
Being there, yeah.
Yeah, you don't always have to physically give something, do you, to be kind?
No.
And yeah,
saying something, or just letting someone know that you are always there for them, however ugly the crying is, and that to me is the ultimate kindness, because I can be really terrible. I can be really sort of AWOL with work, and then I'll have a crisis, and then I'll phone my friends in really, dramatic situation. And you know, it's just they never judge or say, oh, I only hear from you when you're stressed. And I'm very aware that's how it can come across. But
yes,
I really
but that's not what
appreciate
friendship's
that.
about,
Yeah,
though, is it?
exactly. And I think, but that still is kind. That's a kindness. And I just think we should just celebrate people that are there for us and all those nice comments, and never treat them with suspicion or, oh, what do you want? Or, oh, you know, you're just doing that because you want to make yourself feel better about yourself. And it's, you know, just, of course there's that side to it. But I think let's look to the positive always. I'm half glass full.
How many glasses have you had, Meredith?
Full glass half.
Yeah, you know what I mean. Glass half. I am. I'm the eternal optimist. My friend once said to me, look at me now, blowing my own trumpet, but my friend once said to me, she said, you can look at a picture of someone and the first thing you will say is something positive, like, oh, isn't she got a lovely eyes? Or, and like she said, you know, this person could literally look like grot bags out the pink windmill. And you're like, oh, she's got lovely eyes.
I love her hair. I'm loving all of these sound bites that Jeremy's playing for us.
So many. It's wonderful.
And I really want to listen to another one. So hit us up, Jez.
Hi guys, it's Janine here. I just wanted to tell you about some random acts of kindness. Last year at my son's school during Mental Health Week, the school had an initiative where they suggested that the children could choose some random acts of kindness to get a buzz from doing something nice for someone else. They had lots of things they could choose from. So kindness from school, for example, help a friend who's stuck on their classwork, or sharpen all the pencils in the class at break time to help your teacher out. Kindness in the playground, so organise a game for children in the younger classes, share the games equipment you're playing with, stand by the door after playtime and hold the door open for your friends. There was also kindness at home, so things like clearing the dinner table without being asked, or feed your pet or clean out their cage without having been told. Funnily enough, my son wasn't quite so keen on doing those ones. Thanks.
Oh,
I used to love when I got to sharpen my teacher's pencils.
with that
I did
rotation
too.
thing, with the
with
big
the
thing.
electric,
Yeah.
the electric pencil sharpener.
Yeah.
Oh my God, it's the best job.
I
the
want one
best
of those
job.
for my makeup pencils. I'm always losing my eyeliner.
But wouldn't they sharpen
Pencil
really
sharpener.
quickly though, because
Yeah,
they're
it'd
a
be
bit
amazing.
softer?
Yeah, they'd literally be stubs.
In seconds. Zip.
Oh shit! There goes my Chanel. She says as though she's got Chanel eyeliner.
That was a really lovely voice
That was
note.
lovely. Who
So
was that?
sweet.
Sorry, that was Janine.
That was Janine. Yeah, that was really sweet. And I think it's really important that we teach our kids random acts of kindness and the importance of being kind, being there for people. And I always say to my kids, it's nice to be nice. It's something that my husband says to them as well. And I think it's important to get them to embrace that as well.
Or as they say in Bambi, if you can't say nothing nice, don't say
nothing at all.
Oh, and another quote from a Disney movie, Cinderella: "Have courage and be kind."
Oh,
Yes.
I love that.
I love that.
I love that.
I'm still
live by that.
very much someone that loves a sign up in a house. We've got one here: live well, laugh often, love much. I don't care if they're naff. I love them. Natalie, I think you've got such an aura of kindness about you, and you were a Disney princess, weren't you?
Yeah, well, yes, I was very good friends with the Disney princess. That's what we're trying to say.
Which Disney princess was your friend?
Yeah, which
My
was your
bestest friend ever was Rapunzel.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, what was
Can you sing
Rapunzel's
us?
song?
Can you sing us a?
Yes.
I brush and brush and brush and brush my hair. That was me, Hayley, by the way, and not Natalie.
That was
Natalie's
brilliant,
career
Hayley.
ruined.
I prefer that. I think our listeners will get much more from that.
Go on, sing us a Rapunzel song.
Okay, what did she sing? I feel like it's been a while. Oh God. And at last I see the light, and it's like the fog has lifted. Okay,
That's the bit when she's in. That's the bit when she's in the
Yeah,
boat
with-
and they're letting off
Flynn
the.
Rider.
Yeah, I
love
cried.
that you know that, Hayley. Are you a super
I
fan?
cried.
got
I've got
kids.
I've got two girls, haven't I? And Rapunzel, Tangled is one of my favourites. And when I cry so much at Disney films, at Princess
I
films.
do.
When I first watched that scene with Rapunzel and Flynn Rider in the boat with all the lights going up, I was floored. Absolutely floored. I had the tissues.
He's my favourite.
He's good.
He's gorgeous.
And my kids were like, "What's the matter with you, Mummy? Why are you crying? What's the matter?" It's just so beautiful.
I think Disney films actually do teach kids a lot about kindness and moral. I think they're brilliant. I really do. I think
And adults.
Yes, I think they were my saviour growing up. But I remember taking Amelia, my daughter, so we went to Florida, and I remember taking her to queuing up to meet Ariel, and it was like if I met Madonna. It was.
Oh, yeah.
I've got a picture of her, and you can actually see her almost melting in the photo of just with like her teeth are so tightly clamped together. And it was like, go on, Natalie, say up where they walk. Go on, please.
Up where they walk, up where they talk, up where they... I don't even know the...
Up where they walk, up where they run, up where they play all day in the sun.
Wandering
free, wish I could be part of that I actually
my
sang
God.
that for my audition.
I'm in
for
pieces here.
Rapunzel.
That is so funny.
Sorry, you
I'd
might have
remember
noticed, in case anyone missed earlier, Stephen has popped out, but producer Jeremy is here to keep the ratio of Disney princesses up.
I love it. I love it. So brilliant. All right, Jeremy, hit us up with another soundbite.
Okay, so here goes. I have a lockdown puppy. On a good day, he's very amorous. On a bad day, he's the local sex pest. This particular day was a bad day. We were at the park. My boy was playing with a friend, and Rufus, my puppy, took a very strong fancy to a small Westie who was literally terrified. The owner started screaming and swearing at me. And whilst I was trying to explain to the owner that this wasn't suitable language for a playground, while Rufus was dry humping his dog just bolted out of the park with Rufus in hot pursuit. So I jogged round the corner after the two dogs, and as I rounded the corner, I realised they'd completely disappeared in the middle of Brixton. In that moment, everything changed. Panic set in. I was running and screaming Rufus's name. People stopped in cars to help, and I breathlessly explained that I'd lost my fluffy white puppy, probably in the tone of "a dingo stole my baby." I was running, and the swearing gentleman was actually running after me. Then good sense took hold. I stopped. I asked the angry gentleman if we could swap numbers and split up, and he kindly did so, and an elderly couple also stopped and took our numbers. Fortunately, 10 minutes later, the angry gentleman gave me a call, said he'd found the dogs, and thank God he held on to my naughty puppy. So I got Rufus back. But what really floored me is 5 hours later, the elderly woman gave me a call to find out if we'd found Rufus. And she explained that her husband was still out looking. So in the panic and relief of finding Rufus, I just hadn't thought to call them. And I was just so touched that he was still out looking that that's going to stay with me for a long, long while.
Oh my goodness.
Randy Rufus has got a lot to answer for.
Do you know
My
what?
sister has a puppy called Rupert. They should be friends.
Sex pests together.
Sex pests.
Do you know what? If who was that told that story so brilliantly?
That Lynda in Brixton.
I mean, that was
Lynda,
told
amazing.
so with such humour.
Yeah.
Had
I
she
was on the
told
edge of
it,
my seat.
had she told it in any other way, I would have been broken. I mean, I have dogs, and thought, I mean, my mum has 6 dogs stolen, and or losing a dog is just, and I have to say there's something about losing a dog. You see human kindness in its abundance. People step in. I think more people step in for lost dogs than they do lost children. Honestly, people are just unbelievable when it.
That's
when it
amazing
comes.
that
elderly
guy
couple.
was
Yeah.
still out
Yeah.
looking after 5 hours for and Rufus being led by his desire for the Westie.
But Stephen mentioned earlier, we used to work on a radio station, and during one of my shows, there was a lost dog, and we had to sort of do an appeal for the local area to sort of say, look, this dog was lost. And I think the whole town turned out, and the dog was found. And, you know, the comments on Facebook were just, have you found your dog? We've been so worried. You know, we're in Scotland, but we're thinking of you. And, oh, goodness. I mean, it does get you through.
Well, we had a lost dog. We had a lost dog round here a couple
Yes.
of weeks ago. It was on a Saturday morning, and our neighbours who have a deli at the end of the road, they found a little dog tied up to a lamppost when they went to go and open up about 7:30 in the morning. Poor little thing. And he just put it on our street WhatsApp, didn't know what to do. What should we do with the dog? You know, we've just on our way to open up. So I raced down with the girls, and we got the little dog, and we said, look, we'll look after it until we work out what we can do with it, which obviously the girls loved. And then we got a charity involved, and then they did find the owners in the end, which we were actually a little bit sad about because we fell in love with them a little bit.
We did.
But
That happened to us as well.
But yeah, people, everybody on the street was like, "Oh, what's the news about the dog? And have you found their owners?" And yeah, it's great that people are always willing to help you.
Yeah.
Always willing.
Beautiful.
We will put dog losts. No, I know that this isn't about lost dogs. This is about random acts of kindness. But we have there. I do think a lot of people's stories of kindness do come from when their dogs have bolted, and we'll put dog losts number in the show notes because they are incredible. They have people all around the country, and they volunteers, and they do get dogs back. And I think that there's like 90% of dogs that have gone missing, dog lost, have been behind. So definitely always call dog lost if you don't have lovely, kind people around to help, like that
Brilliant
lovely
idea.
elderly couple.
Brilliant.
I know.
Do we have another? Can we squeeze in another couple of voice notes, Jez?
Yeah.
I just remembered a random act. I was out with Hetty a few days ago, and there was a homeless guy outside Sainsbury's, and he asked for some money. I said, I don't have any, but I can get you something if you want. And he said, yes, please. A bottle of fizzy or something. And I was like, okay, what Coke? He said, yeah. So I got him a Coke, and then I bought him a big bar of Galaxy and gave it to him after. That was a random act for me. That's because I'm doing Ramadan, and I always try and do good things for people during this month. Trying to be a good person. What else? I'm trying to think of what's been done for me recently. I got to think about that. But there's one for you.
Oh, Raghad,
Oh, that
bless her.
was
She's doing
lovely.
Ramadan. So yeah, I think
She's going out of her way to do nice things.
exactly. Yeah.
A friend of mine, two friends of mine, they run their own business, and they sent two different customers, the wrong things. One customer got the other customer's thing. And so they contacted the customer, and they said, you can send them back to us. And one of the ladies said, oh, it's okay. Don't worry about it. Just give me the other lady's address and I'll forward it to her. It's fine. I like to do one thing a week, one kind thing a week for somebody that I don't know. And I think that's a really good motto.
Yeah, that must make you feel lovely inside.
Just
warm
do one
inside.
kind thing a week for somebody that you don't know. And it could be anything. It could be like your friend Natalie, who bought a homeless person something to eat and drink.
Yeah.
Or it could be anything. Telling somebody they look nice, like you mentioned the stylist the other day. But also, I think just, sharing a smile with somebody on the street and saying good morning. I think that can be equally as lovely.
I was going to say the exact same thing, Hayley, is that to me kindness should be a given. I think that actually, we're all kind at heart. deep down. But I actually think what's happening is that maybe people's view of kindness, you've touched on it already by saying about agendas and things like that. And I think maybe people just need to reassess what kindness is and taking time to reflect and just thinking to do kindness because it makes us feel good is fine. But I think it should just be a given. And I think it just makes the world a lot of a nicer, sweeter place just to have kindness existing everywhere, but by being kind to ourselves as well, foremost.
Yeah, absolutely.
Completely, Jeremy.
Well,
yeah, that's right, actually.
Producer Jeremy has been known to buy our local big issue seller a bacon sandwich and a hot cup of tea.
Well, there you go.
Well, I didn't want to say it because I do believe that you should just do it without even thinking. And I don't, look, the big issue, don't get me wrong, there's better reads. And I'd rather, it's a cold day, they've been out there all day and been ignored by the snobby people of Berkhamsted. And just to say, look, I'll buy you lunch, come on. Get them a soup, a sandwich, it's a couple of quid. And it just changes their day because they've been there.
It's nothing, is it?
It's nothing, but to them it's huge.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. But my dad would always. My dad is a very generous and kind person, and he would. I think I get that from him, and he'd always give the big issue guy in Leighton Buzzard a couple of quid for a big issue, but doesn't take it, so he can sell it again. Yeah.
Yeah, that's nice. That's really nice.
Would you like another clip?
Yes, another clip, Jez.
I was just going to say that where I'm sitting in Stephen's place, he's left his notepad here. Well, I say it's his notepad. On the front it says
I love Meredith.
Stephen's people he doesn't like. And on the first page, right, Paul Hollywood's name's there, but it's been crossed out and then rewritten again, but in a different pen. So I'm assuming something happened in a time scale. I'm not sure.
Has he doodled loads of willies on it?
Well, of course. Here's the next clip.
Hello ladies, this isn't a very exciting random act of kindness, but it's something that is totally free. I saw a lady on the high street where I live here, I don't know, she was probably in her late 60s, a couple of weeks ago, and she looked amazing. She was styled, her outfit was just on point, and I just approached her and said, excuse me, I hope you don't mind, but you look absolutely amazing. And she was so chuffed, so delighted, and said that I'd made her day. So yeah, just telling somebody that they look nice or you appreciate their outfit or that their hair looks good sometimes does the job.
That's so true.
Yeah, I love that. That was Dawn. That was lovely Dawn Marriott. She's a stylist, and what, to be told by her you look fabulous is an honour in itself. But I mean, to just be a stranger and have someone say that to you. Oh, I love that.
I know, put a real spring in your step. I remember somebody saying that to me about 20 years ago. Walking down the street in Notting Hill, and this guy said, "Oh, you look good today." It's like, thanks. Maybe he thought I don't normally look good every other day that you see me, but never mind.
Providing there are boundaries and it's not creepy.
Well, that's what I was just going to ask, was from a male point of view here, is that I've always been led to believe that, you should be charming, hold a door, pay a compliment, wish someone good morning. But with the way the world is now, I feel as if that could come across as being predatory or viewed as that. And I just think, again, are we sort of viewing kindness, and am I opening up a whole can of worms here, that kindness people can often be a kind smile, but what lies beneath is darker. But I just think, from my point of view, I always want to say, "Oh, you look lovely," But would someone then misread that, or am I just making?
That's the thing.
Am I being an awkward Brit?
No. I know. You've got to just assume that everyone it comes from the heart, and then obviously if it then gets a bit weird and creepy, then you got to get.
Well, I think I think if that guy had actually stopped me and then tried to sort of start a conversation, then it might have crossed a line and been a bit weird. But he was just walking past, and he carried on walking, and he just said it as he walked past, and we just carried on our own way. So I didn't take it as a creepy sort of predatory thing. But yes, it is a shame, because often it can be perceived as something like, "Oh, why would you say that? Why would you say that to me? You don't even know me."
It's very different from wolf whistling. That's,
I was going to say, dare I ask, wolf whistling? What's
sorry.
Your views, wolf whistle?
No.
Keep it in your mouth.
Yeah.
Natalie?
Yeah.
It can make people feel very insecure and on edge, and it can induce anxiety, and you don't know what that woman has experienced before in her life, and so a wolf whistle can be a trigger. And I would just
and also a wolf whistle has got sexual connotations.
Yeah,
And yes,
absolutely.
What it's associated
if
with,
you wouldn't wolf whistle your daughter or your gran, so you know that.
Well, there was a whole dispute on social media the other night because a young girl had sort of said, you know, to the builders who I just walked past, who, you know, wolf whistled me, just to say, you made me feel horrible walking home and blah, 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 blah. And I mean, some of the comments were wonderful and really supportive. And others were saying, well, your skirt was probably too short, or, oh, get over it, or, oh, I'd be flattered, love. And it's like, you're missing the point.
Yeah,
you know, we've come
yeah.
so far, and no. You can wear what you want without the risk of being assaulted, and that's the end of it. But actually, Jeremy touched on being kind in your everyday life, and actually your behaviour towards people, not wolf whistling is one of them. But do you remember a few weeks ago, Stephen said that it's so important if you're coming out to someone, it shouldn't be about, they won't remember someone coming out, the person that they're telling that to, they have a huge responsibility to make sure that their response is that of kindness, and because that moment can change everything. If someone's brave enough to come out to you or tell you something, take a breath and think, even if you're shocked or mortified, think, this moment is going to be etched in this person's mind for the rest of their life. They took such a big step, and how
It's
respond.
about them.
Yes.
It's about them. It's not about you.
And just be kind, and just think that someone has been so brave to say something or announce something, regardless of what you may or may not think. Just think about how your response is going to be met, and just be kind, open arms. You know, I have endless battles with my daughter about boys I don't approve of and things like that. But I always say to her, at the end of the day, kid, even if you've left the house with a screaming row, if someone hurts you or upsets you, you come home and I'm here without judgment and open arms. And then I'll judge later on. But, you know, just let someone know that, again, you know, it's being there. It's not about giving stuff.
I've really enjoyed this week's sound bites and talking about random acts of kindness. And it's really inspired me, actually. Every week, do something kind for somebody that you don't know. And actually, just be kind, as Jeremy said.
Yeah.
Have
Jeremy,
courage
producer.
and be kind.
And don't just post it on Instagram like we all did on
Live
the
it.
anniversary of Caroline Flack's death. And then the day later, when Meghan went on air to say that she, you know, had suicidal thoughts, everyone that had been posting Be Kind had an opinion on that. So can we remember that it's not just a day or a statement on Instagram?
I think that's one of the things about being a Christian. I grew up a Christian. I don't particularly practice much anymore, but one of the main things that I've got from it is to be kind and to treat your neighbours as you want to be treated, and not ask for anything in return. Not tell people about it.
It's an excellent moral compass.
Yeah, exactly.
And that really is the thing. If you treat people the way you would treat them and that you expect to be treated, it does give you a good indication of, like, you know, narcissists out there who assume that every time you do something bad, it's intentional, because that, of course, is then what they would do, and it gives you an insight into their brain. So that's a whole different psychology. But absolutely, it's it is a good Christian value. Treat people the way that you would expect to be treated.
But then at the end of the day, it's not just a Christian value. It's a I guess a human value to be kind and
it doesn't have to have any connotations with any faith or religion.
Exactly.
Just
I'm
just
not
be
Christian,
nice.
I'm not going to be kind.
Yeah.
I'm atheist.
I'm going to be an absolute dick because I don't believe in God.
So I'm an atheist. Well, I'm an atheist.
Agnostic, I'd say you were.
Well, yeah, I can chat religion till the cows come home and probably have a better understanding of religions than most people who are really dedicated to their faith. But I get it. And again, I think the term, moral compass is such a good term to use with it, because to me, Christianity, absolutely. I grew up, went to my church. My school was Church of England, and was always around the Christian church. So there's a lot of learnings from that, and it does. You just transfer it into modern life, And it's just in the same way. Fairy tales are the same way as well. Hans Christian Andersen stories, all those things, they offer those stories. And for me, the Good Samaritan is still the story I love the most, despite not being religious. But I just think it can teach you so much in life.
I think it's a guide to being a good person.
Yes. Yeah.
And
Definitely.
Aesop's fables as well, all the morality in that as well. There's so much that we can actually, like Disney films, be teaching our kids without them even knowing they're being taught kindness.
Absolutely. As long as the girls know that they don't need to marry a prince to be successful in life.
Well,
Totally.
talking of your girls, they've done voice clips.
Oh, they have. Yeah.
When I see a bumblebee that's tired and on the floor, about to get squashed, I move it with a leaf and put it by a flower in the shade, and I give it some bee syrup, which we have in a special vial. And when I saw a poor passed away bee, I buried it in my garden.
Oh, that is so sweet.
That's Nancy.
What's
bee syrup?
So
Yeah,
we've got this little vial which is in a little key ring, and in the
Is
vial,
it like what Angelina Jolie had Billy Bob Thornton's blood in?
yeah, it hasn't got Billy Bob Thornton's blood in it that revives bees though.
Some sugar and water.
Vampire bees, yeah, it's sugar syrup, yeah. So she'll pick the little bee up with a leaf and take it into the shade or underneath a tree, and then put a little bit of syrup on it so it can have a little drink, and then fly off. But she did find one that she couldn't revive, which she was devastated about, and dug at a grave in the garden, decorated it with petals, had a little lollipop stick with R.I.P. Bumblebee on it, stuck it in, so she'd always know where it was.
What a sweetheart.
I know, bless. So sweet. I love that you can hear her turning over the page of her notes as well, halfway through that.
I didn't know
She'd almost written a poem.
She'd written it down so she wouldn't forget anything.
Oh,
So sweet.
And I think Ivy's done one as well, Jess, hasn't she?
Once we were walking home and we saw a stag beetle stuck in the gutter near a drain. We picked it up, took it home and put it in the garden, and it dug down and disappeared.
Oh.
We did. Ivy was very concerned that the stag beetle was going to get washed down the drain. It was quite big. I don't think it would have fit through the holes, but I had to pick it up and carry it all the way home. And it was huge, and it was doing this thing where it was sort of going on its hind legs and clipping its little pincers at me.
Yeah,
it was like, oh my God. Yeah, it was quite scary. And then we put it in the garden and it dug down and never saw it again.
No.
Yeah, I've had
anyway.
to save a stag beetle and then provide an aquarium for a stag beetle. Hugo was very into saving insects, and then one day I got asked to come into the nursery school to talk to the headmistress, and she said, we know it's not coming from a bad place. We know he's just trying to save the insects or just look at them. But he's quite heavy-handed, and we have had quite a few squashed crickets and three-legged spiders. The school used to be by a sort of really beautiful field, wild field, and in the summer, the crickets were grasshoppers and crickets were deafening, and the kids used to run around and catch crickets and grasshoppers. And poor Hugo, he's just so zealous and amorous with them. And I'll clap his hands and
Oh, bless.
Yeah, poor Jiminy.
Well, birds, that's all our clips. And it looks like our time is done. It's been a real honour to be sitting in Stephen's place.
It's been a pleasure to have you, Jeremy, if that
you're
doesn't
too
sound
kind.
too
Thanks for
weird.
joining us.
No,
One
it's
thing
always lovely
people
to be
always
here.
say about us as a married couple is that Jeremy's voice only accentuates how grating mine is. So I do apologise to people who might now go, yeah, it is her voice. It's just a little bit. Ooh.
I love Jeremy's voice because he sounds like Paul Bettany.
Oh, would you just?
Hello, Wanda.
I do want to say a quick thank you, Jeremy. Actually, Jez, you do so much for the podcast, and you spend so much time putting it all together. So thank you for the kindness that you
Definitely, yes.
That's very kind. I was just going to go, oh, what are you after?
I know, I feel
Natalie,
like
you have no idea what I have to do for the team.
No, absolutely. It's lovely to hear your voice because we don't normally hear it, so it's been an absolute pleasure.
Yes. Guys, this has been great.
It's been really lovely, and just remember to be kind.
Natalie, can you sing us out?
Yes.
Forget your troubles, come on, get happy. We're gonna chase all your cares away. The sun is shining, come on, get happy. Get ready for the judgment day.
Sing hallelujah, come on,
Come on, get happy.
The Lord is waiting to take your hand.
I'm out.
There you go.
That was
All right.
epic. Woo! Who needs Stephen Carter Bailey? Oh, that wasn't very kind. And do you know what? Big love to Stephen for all the cakes.
I haven't had any, so not showing him any love. No, joking.
Oh, you can say what you like. We're off air.
I'm going to have to send him some champagne to get a cake.
That's bribery. What do you want, you creep?
Bye, birds.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to this episode of For Calling Birds. If you'd like to follow us on all the usual social media channels, then check out the show notes for more details. And hey, do you want to know what happens when I say the mics aren't on when actually they are? All right then.
Sweaty bikini line.
Oh, that's so attractive. Because I don't wear underwired bras anymore.
I don't wear bras anymore.
Oh God, I wish I could not wear a bra. Yeah, I sort of, because they sort of probably don't sort of get lifted as much as they used to be. Maybe I just need to.
I remember my
make
mum
them a little
saying
bit
to
tighter.
me, a sign of good tits is that you can hold a pen under your boob. I was like, no, I don't think that's a sign of good
No,
tits.
it's for you that you can't hold a
pen.
pen
I
under
could
your
hold a
boob.
Filofax under my boob.
A suitcase. When Meredith goes on holiday, she carries her luggage underneath her breasts.
But did you see Daisy May Cooper doing that? Things you can hold under your boobs.
No, she put her tits in hair bags.
Did she?
Those things you can hold under your boobs as well. And there were like people with like a broom. And there was
Oh, brilliant!
it's true. Look,
I'm going to put
right.
I'm going to test now.
Topic for another episode. I've got
I'm
a
putting-
lighter under mine now.
I am putting a pencil underneath my left breast. No, won't stay. It won't stay. It's falling. Look at me, pert as fuck. 46. Get in.
I can still sit down without my bollocks hitting the chair first.
You
So
can't wear your kayaking though, Jeremy. You told me earlier.
No, I'm kayaking. No, that was my
Wet
shorts.
nads.
But if I was like, I always make sure good support on pants. So important. So important.
Oh, definitely.
But I
You
remember
never know. You might peep out and say hello when you don't want to.
Well, that-
No, there is nothing worse than when you're having. I don't know. I'm apologising. We're all nearly 50. When you're
Speak for
having
yourself.
sex on all fours, and you glance down at your.
No, I have to close my eyes. It's too much.
You too. Yeah.